Lin Yi said awkwardly, "As for the investment, forget it. I'm just planting for fun, and I'm not too short on money. It's just my own entertainment." Upon hearing this, the guest bid Lin Yi farewell and left, saying, "So that's how it is, then I won't trouble you any longer." Another guest came over and said, "Young man, could you weigh me some more fruit? 10 kilos, please." Lin Yi was startled and asked, "Aunt, didn't your husband just buy 10 kilos yesterday? Did you eat it all in one night?" The guest replied appreciatively, "Your fruits are indeed something. One doesn't know until they eat them. They're really delicious." She continued with a cheerful tone. "My daughter, after her surgery, had quite a few relatives come over and praise the fruits. Although they are a bit expensive, you really can't find such delicious fruits elsewhere." Lin Yi stood up, took the bag, and asked, "What kind of fruit do you want? I can weigh it for you, aunt." The guest replied, "You can take whichever kind you have more of. Just weigh that one." Suddenly, 3 people approached from behind Lin Yi. 2 women and 1 man stood in a straight line. A car stopped, the door opened, and someone stepped out of the vehicle. This man is Peng Chengji, the general manager of Shengnong Development Company. Behind him is his secretary. He approached Lin Yi with a cheerful expression, holding a business card in both hands, extending it towards Lin Yi, and started the conversation. "Let me introduce myself first. I am Peng Chengji, the general manager of Shengnong Development Company." Lin Yi looked at him with a rather unfriendly gaze and said, "Even if you are the general manager, you still have to wait in line." Peng Chengji quickly explained, "Here's the thing. I bought some fruit from you yesterday, and we found it quite good. After that, I took it for testing. The results showed that the sugar, protein, fiber, and other elements in your fruit are 20 to 50 times higher than those of similar fruits. Therefore, we would like to cooperate with you." Lin Yi had a skeptical look, thinking to himself, "Why is there another one?" Then, Lin Yi looked at the general manager and said, "I'm afraid that won't do. I only grow for fun. I don't intend to make a big profit from it, so forget about cooperation. Please leave." The general manager smiled awkwardly and hurriedly negotiated. "Don't be quick to refuse. Technical cooperation is also fine. Aside from the money for selling technology, we will provide an additional commission. The price will definitely not disappoint you." Lin Yi's face turned ugly, and after a moment of hesitation, he firmly replied, "First, I don't lack money. Second, ordinary land can't produce such fruits. So, extinguish your thoughts of cooperation and hurry up. Go away." The general manager, upon hearing this, felt frightened and flustered, responding, "All right then." He then left, looking at the long line of customers. The general manager thought to himself, "It seems that this type of fruit has a very good reputation. No matter how expensive it is, it will be sold out just as expected." Only 10 minutes later, the pile of fruits was almost gone, with just a few left, but there were still many people in line to buy. Lin Yi stood up and loudly declared, "Sold out! Sold out! In a few days, I will harvest more and come again." People dispersed, and Lin Yi looked at the girl and the guy behind him, cheerfully saying, "My fruits are sold out. You two can go home after selling out your vegetables. I won't be back at Huanxi village for a few days." The girl behind smiled and replied, "Okay." Lin Yi's phone rang, and Director Ren answered. On the other end of the line, Lin Yi spoke. "Renzi, stop the work you're doing for now. I'm taking you to meet someone. Let's meet in front of Li Dong Century, president of media. You know that place, right?" Upon hearing Lin Yi finish, she joyfully said, "You got in touch with someone from Li Dong Century, president of media." Lin Yi had just placed his items in the trunk when he heard a cheerful voice on the other end. "You did great. I'm on my way." Lin Yi closed the trunk and drove to the meeting place. In another car, the secretary spoke up. "Mr. Peng, this person is somewhat difficult to handle." Peng Chengjie took a drag from his cigarette and replied, "Someone who can invent fruit like this is definitely not ordinary. Of course, he will be wary of others, but right now, the only thing I want to clarify is where he grows his fruit." Peng Chengjia's gaze was contemplative as he continued. This point, he probably isn't lying about. Ordinary places truly can't produce fruit like this. However, there's very little information about him, making it somewhat difficult to investigate. The secretary, who also served as the driver, turned back to ask, "Should we pursue him then?" Peng Chengji looked towards the fruit stall, his face filled with calculation. "No need. He's probably just delivering goods. I recall 2 days ago, he was with a vegetable vendor. Let's just follow that large delivery truck, and we might locate the fruit base." Upon hearing this, the secretary couldn't help but exclaim, "Mr. Peng is so perceptive." The general manager laughed heartily. "Ha ha!" At the Lidong Century President of Media Building, Director Ren Si approached with a radiant smile. "You spend all day going up the mountains and down to the sea. How come you are so familiar with someone from Lidong Century, President of Media? This is a major company in the industry with a certain influence in the entire nation H." Lin Yi explained, "It's a casual encounter. Let's head up first, and we can talk about it slowly later." Saying that, the two of them stepped inside together. Standing in front of the elevator, Lin Yi said, "I've made an appointment. We can go straight up." In the elevator, Director C looked at him and said, "If it requires a huge favor to repay, then you don't need my help anymore." Lin Yi replied with a smile, "This has nothing to do with favors. They want to repay you." Lin Yi looked at her and continued, "Besides, if we can't negotiate in the end, that's fine. Money issues can be solved, so they aren't real problems." In the office, a voice called out, "Please come in." 2 powerful men stepped forward, politely saying, "Director Lin, you've arrived. We've been waiting for you for a long time." Lin Yi responded, "Let me introduce you to my friend. Her name is Ren Si. She was originally a director at a television station, and now she runs her own company." Hearing this, Ren Si politely nodded and stepped forward to shake hands, greeting, "Mr. Xiao." Mr. Xiao also shook hands and welcomed her. "Hello, hello." Mr. Xiao began to introduce the man behind him. "This is Yu Feng, the vice president of our company. He is in charge of organizing and implementing internal activities. Therefore, in terms of business, he is more professional than I am, and it will be more convenient for us to discuss later." Vice President Yu also politely greeted, "Hello, Mr. Lin. Hello, Mrs. Yan." After the greetings, Mr. Xiao offered, "Please take a seat and enjoy some tea." Vice President Yu looked at Ren Si and said, "Director Si, Mr. Xiao has informed me about your situation. If you have any specific requirements, feel free to state them so we can discuss and come up with an appropriate plan." Ren Si took a document from her bag and placed the proposal in front of Vice President Yu. "We primarily want to create a variety show with a slow pace in the countryside. Therefore, I hope to find some celebrities and an experienced team from your side to collaborate." Vice President Yu reviewed the proposal and asked, "The production team is not an issue, but do you have any specific requirements for the guests?" Ren Si thought for a moment and replied, "I need 1 or 2 highly reputable actors as the main guests to control the pace of this variety show. I also hope to have a celebrity as a regular guest to lead the overall viewer ratings of the program." Vice President Yu replied, "Due to your relationship with Mr. Xiao, we can temporarily waive the production team's fee for you. In the future, there will be advertisements, and we can settle it then." Ren Si beamed, "That's great!" Vice President Yu continued, "Now, celebrities charge over 3 million for an episode of the program, while second-tier stars charge around 2 million. According to the records, we must secure 200 million when settling the accounts for 12 episodes to break even." Hearing this, Ren Si was frightened. 200 million? She quickly asked, "Can't the price be lower?" Mr. Xiao suddenly spoke up, "Director Ren, I guess you are running short on funds, right? Just tell me how much you need. Let's consider this program as a collaboration between our 2 companies, and we will cover part of it." Ren Si was flustered. "Well." Vice President Yu, hearing this, hurriedly stood up. "Mr. Xiao, please calm down. The programs our company invests in are usually around 20 million. 100 million is too much risk. Mr. Xiao, looking displeased, replied, I believe Director C's program is not bad. We can give it a try. Lin Yi was calmly drinking a cup of tea in his hand and said, It's not necessary. Didn't we make it clear on the phone? In business, we discuss business. I think Mrs. Yu's way of doing things is not wrong. Everyone just needs to be a bridge. I'm already very grateful. Ren Si was taken aback when he heard Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi spoke with great confidence. I will pay the remaining amount. Please give me the business transaction account number, and I will have the finance department transfer the money for everyone shortly. Yu Feng and Mr. Xiao were very surprised to hear Lin Yi say, Ah, Director Lin, you are investing 100 million in this program? Lin Yi set the teacup down on the table and continued, There's something I forgot to mention to both of you. Lin Yi introduced his identity. I not only used to be the head of the cardiology department of Huashan Hospital, but I am also the CEO of Ling Yun Group. 100 million is not much. It's just a goal. Yu Feng had to stand up, very surprised when he heard Lin Yi's words. You are the CEO of Ling Yun Group? Mr. Xiao immediately filled Lin Yi's cup with tea and respectfully invited him to drink. Look, this matter is quite chaotic. If there is any place where the hospitality is not adequate, I hope Mr. Lin will not take offense. Lin Yi happily replied, It's okay, I'm not serious myself, so it's normal for you not to recognize me. Lin Yi continued, In general, there's no need to worry about the financial side. Let's research other issues and make the most of this program's filming. Yu Feng cheerfully answered, Sure, we will definitely collaborate to the best of our ability. Ren Si felt very proud of Lin Yi and thought to herself, Indeed, in a man's world, strength is still needed to have a say. Mr. Xiao said, Mr. Lin, how about this? I'll find a place for us to eat and talk, giving us an opportunity to invite you. And concerning my daughter, I still need to thank you properly after all. Lin Yi turned to Ren Si. How about that? Ren Si stood up. Okay, we can discuss the remaining details at the dinner table. After all, it's dinner time already. Yu Feng had already stood by the door, extending his hand to lead the way. Mr. Lin, Mr. Xiao invites you. And the four of them left together, with Ren Si saying, I just want you to introduce me. I don't want you to pay for it. Lin Yi replied, Consider it an investment. Once the settlement is over, you will have to pay me back. Ren Si was still not satisfied, but she was worried. What if it turns out to be a loss? You'll be wasting your money. Lin Yi unexpectedly placed his hand on Ren Si's shoulder and smiled brightly. Why think so much? After all, we are drinking buddies. Don't even mention 100 million. Even if it's 1 billion, it's worth it. Behind them, Yu Feng and Mr. Xiao were talking to each other. Yu Feng said, Today's event was really surprising. We actually met the CEO of Ling Yun Group. This is someone that ordinary people wouldn't have the chance to meet. Mr. Xiao rested his hand under his chin. I feel that Mr. Lin is not a narrow-minded person. As for the future matters, let's just cooperate to the best of our abilities. As long as prices stay stable, increasing the scale of the actor team and bringing in 2 celebrities, we will definitely make this program a success. However, any excess expenses we will cover. Yu Feng nodded in agreement. This is not a problem. Spending a few more tens of millions can definitely get it done. Mr. Xiao continued to discuss with Yu Feng. Did we not just sign with Zhao Yini? Her current popularity and status are sufficient. Let her take the position of a first-tier resident guest. Mr. Xiao responded, This approach works. You can take charge of this matter. Mr. Xiao then looked at Lin Yi ahead. Let's hurry up and not keep him waiting. At the same time, Zhao Yina and her manager were walking nearby. Zhao Yina was surprised to see Lin Yi's group. Ren Si's expression was not very friendly when she saw Zhao Yini, and Zhao Yini took off her glasses and greeted, Mr. Xiao, Mr. Yu. Yu Feng said, That's right, Yini. I happen to want to discuss something with you. There is a new variety show recently, and I've arranged for you to be a main guest. Make sure to perform well and don't waste such great resources." Zhao Yini felt very excited. "Mr. Yu, is it a big show?" Yu Feng nodded. "Of course, the budget is around 200 to 300 million. Yu Feng extended his hand to introduce. "This is Ren Ti and Lin Yi. They designed this new program." Zhao Yini was shocked to see Lin Yi and Ren Ti. Their program? How could they invest so much money? The CEO spoke loudly. "What are you talking about? Mr. Lin is the CEO of Ling Yun Group, which is worth hundreds of billions. A few hundred million in capital is nothing for him. It's just a drop in the bucket." Zhao Yini was very surprised to hear the value of Ling Yun Group. Worth hundreds of billions? Zhao Yini quickly approached Lin Yi. Her attitude completely changed. "Mr. Lin," Lin Yi raised his hand to stop. "Don't. We are not familiar with each other right now. Pulling relationships doesn't mean anything." Yu Feng questioned, "Mr. Lin, what happened?" Mr. Xiao also asked, "Do the two of you know each other?" Lin Yi replied, "We were supposed to know each other, but yesterday while eating, she said she wasn't familiar with us. So, let's not use her for our program anymore. Find someone else." Zhao Yini's face became fearful, anxious upon hearing Lin Yi's words. Mr. Xiao angrily said, "Zhao Yini, what are you doing? Do you know who Mr. Lin is?" Zhao Yini panicked. Lin Yi looked towards Ren Ci. "Don't say any more. Let's go eat. I'm hungry." Yu Feng apologized. "Mr. Lin, I'm really sorry. We didn't know this happened." Mr. Xiao also said, "We won't use her for this program anymore. I will find someone with a higher status than her." Lin Yi turned back and said, "In this aspect, you two are professionals. I'm only responsible for paying. As for the details, you all can negotiate." Zhao Yini and her manager could only watch as Lin Yi and the others left. Zhao Yini anxiously said, "Sister Zhang, what should we do now? I've offended him." Zhao Yini's manager was very angry. "In the past, the two of them knew you, and even his identity is unclear. Are you an idiot?" Zhao Yini was feeling very anxious. "I've worked so hard to climb up to this position, entering the realm of first-line actresses. Is it really going to end like this?" At that moment, in another place, Lin Yi and the crew of the program were having a meal together. Lin Yi asked, "Has the filming location for the program been decided yet?" Ren Ci replied, "I have some options, but after thinking it over, I feel like they're not quite perfect. The fish and rice country of the south of the river has beautiful scenery, but it feels unreal. If it's in the countryside, but the conditions would be too simple, so I plan to scout out a few more places." Lin Yi suggested, "How about Huanxi village? I live there." Mr. Xiao chimed in, "Ha ha! Mr. Lin's fruit base must be there, right? I need to quickly buy some of the new fruit. Every time I come home, all the fruit is gone." Ren Ci agreed with Lin Yi's suggestion. "That sounds great. When you have time, take me over there to have a look." Lin Yi responded, "Let's go tomorrow. The fruit is all sold out. I'm preparing to go over and check things out, and I also need to weed and water the plants." At this moment, in another company, a voice rang out. "Mr. Peng, I have investigated it." Mr. Peng's employee said, "They come from Huanxi village, a rather impoverished place. The fruit seller has a greenhouse in Huanxi village." Mr. Peng replied, "Huanxi village, huh?" He broke into a sinister smile and then ordered, "You go there now. Take soil samples from the greenhouse back here, and also bring back some fruit tree saplings. While you're at it, do some cuttings." Mr. Peng's employee responded, "Got it. I understand." At the same time, there was a car driving down a quiet road. The car suddenly stopped in the middle of the road, and Ren Ci looked out at the surrounding scenery and said, "This place doesn't seem very wealthy." Lin Yi replied, "Of course, villages and towns are really like that." He smiled brightly. "The economic situation of Huanxi village can be considered not bad. At least they can be self-sufficient, much better than those impoverished counties." Ren Ci said, "This place is valued for its authenticity. It's just that the environment isn't very good. If we film here, it definitely won't look good. She had a worried expression. Filming here would surely be a problem. It requires proper adjustments. But this will cost quite a bit. Lin Yi laughed, responded, "Are you still talking about money in front of me? Really?" Two people entered Huanxi village together. One of them said, Yes, Mr. Lin is wealthy and generous. We common folks cannot compare." Lin Yi and Ren Si got out of the car. Lin Yi said, "The greenhouse up ahead is yours. The fruit I ate earlier was grown here." He raised a hand and continued, "That fish pond is also mine. If you decide to film here, we can arrange the fish pond as a scenic spot." Ren Si saw this and joyfully exclaimed, "This is amazing!" She picked up her camera, happily saying, "If life in the towns could prosper a little more, then living here in retirement would be no problem at all." Lin Yi responded, "You come here to film a promotional program for Huanxi village. The towns will definitely support it strongly. If you have any requests, just go discuss it there. As long as it's not excessive, it should be no problem." Ren Si squinted her eyes in a smile, raising one finger and said, "I'll go back and study more with the team. If nothing goes wrong, then it'll definitely be here." Then she stepped into the fruit garden, marveling, "It smells so good. The varieties you have here are not few." Perhaps Ren Si was really excited. She put her hands on her hips, laughing and saying, "What's wrong? Why do you look so unhappy? Are you feeling hurt because I'm taking some of your fruit?" As for Lin Yi, he was focused on observing something. He picked up a stick, poked around, and said, "It seems like the soil has been disturbed." He carefully examined a part of the stick and said, "It looks like someone has been here and stolen quite a few things." Ren Si, seeing this, quickly turned pale. She seemed quite flustered. "Ah, did we encounter a thief? The fruits you grow are so delicious. It's quite normal for someone to want to eat them. Could it be someone from the village?" Lin Yi sat down and said, "It doesn't seem like someone from the village did this. I know their temperament well. Besides, their actions are quite professional." Then Lin Yi stood up abruptly, letting out a sigh. Over here, Ren Si was still anxiously asking, "So what should we do? Do we need to call the police?" Lin Yi replied, "The planting soil has been taken, and they've cut down the trees and taken them away. There's nothing here left that would attract their attention anymore." Then Lin Yi picked a fruit and held it in his hand, saying, "Let's go. Let's take some fruit back." In fact, he didn't just pick one fruit, but an entire box. As Lin Yi and Ren Si were about to leave, suddenly a pair of legs approached. It turned out to be Yao Yao. She seemed very happy to see Lin Yi. "Brother Lin, you're back." Lin Yi seemed quite frustrated when he saw Yao Yao. He said, Just now I was taking care of the greenhouse and vegetable garden. Now that I'm back at Nation TH, do you have something to talk about?" Yao Yao replied, "Recently there have been people contacting my dad, saying that our fruits and vegetables have a lot to do with you." She was quite worried, resting her chin on her hand, and said, "I just feel like the other party does not seem like a good person, afraid that something will happen." Lin Yi continued putting the boxes of fruit into his car trunk. He closed the trunk and said, "I understand. You go back and tell your dad not to answer calls from this person anymore." Upon hearing that, Yao Yao immediately complied. "Okay, I'll go right now." In the biological research room, someone asked, "Director Sun, what are the results?" Director Sun was observing the test tube in his hand. "A bit strange." He held the test tube, which contained a yellowish liquid, and continued, "Although the sample you brought back has a very high microbial content, the soil formula like this could completely be artificially distributed." The man standing next to Director Sun became quite alarmed upon hearing this. "So that means the soil formula has nothing special about it?" Director Sun currently wore a rather serious expression, holding a report in his hand. While reading it, he said, "He must have added some unknown nutrient element to the soil. The soil and seeds are not decisive. The most important thing is his cultivation method, which makes the fruit varieties he grows unique." Mr. Peng, upon hearing this, felt somewhat troubled. It seems a bit challenging. If the important technique is in his hands, We won't have many opportunities, unless we deal with him. Suddenly, a man unexpectedly spoke up. Mr. Peng, I have a way we can try. He had a cunning look on his face, raised one finger to the sky, and began to present his idea. We can take a legal route to strike back at him, claiming that this type of soil, which was newly cultivated in our laboratory, was stolen by him. Then we can go to court. If he can't deliver the technique, he'll end up in prison. Mr. Peng, upon hearing this, was quite pleased. Now that's a good idea. He looked at Director Sun and asked, Director Sun, can you coordinate this soil in a short time? Director Sun nodded. No problem. Give me 3 days and it will be done. Mr. Peng is now very pleased with himself. All right, I will contact him first. If he is cowardly, there will be no need for the law to intervene directly. In a moment, I will ask the court to send him a summons. With a dangerous look on his face, Mr. Peng exudes an incredibly malicious, villainous aura. He thinks, he is just a small farmer, wanting to compete with me lacks a bit of interest. A car rolls up, and a strange phone number calls. I am the person from the agricultural company who looked for you at the entrance of the residential area to cooperate. We suspect that you have stolen land that our laboratory has just researched. I will investigate this matter to the end. Lin Yi and Ren Si are in the car, and upon hearing this, they are a bit taken aback. Lin Yi responds to the person on the phone, You are the funniest person I have met this year. That's quite so much trolling. The person on the phone continues to speak seriously. If you agree, our cooperation will make us partners. But if you do not agree, then we will meet in court. As for how many years the sentence will be, I cannot say for sure. It depends on whether you cooperate or not. Lin Yi finds this quite amusing, and he replies, Then wait for me. After that, he intends to use his finger to hang up the phone. At this moment, he plans to hang up completely and not continue anymore. Just hung up the phone, a man from Director Sun's side asked, Mr. Peng, what did he say? Mr. Peng hung up, puffed out a breath. Those rural people, they really have no culture. He's just a reckless guy who knows nothing. This is the world of capital. Money is the only way. Gao Hoyu laughed cheerfully. Then quickly give him the lawyer letter and the summons. I guess he has never seen these things. On Lin Yi's side, he looked quite tired from dealing with these kinds of scammers. How can scammers these days be so shameless? Ren Si observed Lin Yi's expression and asked him, Are you okay? Lin Yi smiled in response. I'm fine. These scammers kept calling non-stop, and the phone rang again. This time, Lin Yi was genuinely angry. He picked up the phone and yelled, Can you stop? I told you, I'm not cooperating. But how embarrassing for Lin Yi, this time the person on the other end was a girl with blue hair, not one of those scammers. She said, I'm Ning Che. I've been assigned a mission, will arrive in Nation TH tomorrow. As a deputy team leader, shouldn't you set an example in hospitality? How awkward. Even if he dug a hole now, it wouldn't be enough to cover his embarrassment. Lin Yi smiled, feeling bashful, and said, I'm really sorry, I'm willing to contribute. What time will you arrive tomorrow? I'll pick you up at the airport. Lin Yi donned a red dress, looking truly alluring. She replied, I should be getting off the plane around 11:30. It's not convenient to discuss the specifics of the mission over the phone. Let's talk about the details tomorrow when we meet. While driving, Lin Yi spoke on the phone. Okay? Sitting in the car, Lin Yi said, Wait until everyone has completed the program plan, then contact him. Ren Su got out of the car and waved goodbye. Lin Yi was contacted later in a certain skyscraper. Sitting at the desk, she said to the man standing across from her, Regarding Shengnong, you have plans of your own, right? It turned out that the man was Ma Huaiyang, the director of the legal department of Ling Yun Group. Ma Huaiyang replied, Yesterday I researched a bit and found out that their legal director is a student I once taught. His abilities were all imparted by me. Dealing with him will be quite easy. Lin Yi asked in surprise, Is there such a thing? Ma Huaiyang adjusted his glasses, adopting a cool demeanor. Originally, I was a graduate school instructor at the law academy. I came to Lingyun Group through a referral, so I have quite a few students in this field. Lin Yi smiled and raised his hand, saying, "We were originally right. If this matter is added, aren't we the ones who are directly attacking them? So I will go to their company with you tomorrow." Ma Huaiyang nodded respectfully and replied, "Mr. Lin, rest assured, no problem." The next day, at some skyscraper, when a girl saw Mr. Lin arrive, she said, "Hello, sir. May I ask if you have an appointment?" Lin Yi put his hand in his pocket, coldly replied, "My name is Lin Yi. Tell your general manager Peng Chengjie that I have arrived. He will know." The receptionist was slightly flustered, but quickly nodded, "Yes, understood." Then the alluring receptionist invited the two men, Lin Yi and Ma Huaiyang, to enter, saying, "Please go to the meeting room on the second floor and wait for him. I will take you up there." In front of the two men sitting in the meeting room, one person said, "Director Shao, in this contract matter, they do not have much of an advantage. But the other party is a farmer, essentially lacking legal knowledge. How to address this specifically depends on you." Another man said, "Although they do not have the upper hand, they have evidence in their hands. He is Jia Liang Shao, director of the Shengnong Legal Affairs Department." He continued, "The other side is just a grower. Their words are naturally no match for me. Just give me 5 minutes, and I will scare him to death." Mr. Peng laughed loudly, saying, "Ha ha, what I need is this feeling." He said, "It is necessary to use threats and seduction to force him to hand over the technology in his possession. If not, then let him sit in prison." Jia Liang Shao continued, "The whole process will be without any problems. As long as we quietly arrange a little more, the law will stand on our side, and I will make the other side obediently hand over the technology." After that, Mr. Peng stood up, and the two of them walked out of the room together. He said, "Let's go. He is already in the conference room." At this moment, the door of the conference room opened, and Peng Chengjie was sitting on the chair, saying, "Mr. Lin, I apologize for keeping you waiting." He smiled and said, "Let me introduce you. This is Director Jia Liang Shao from their company's legal department. Today, the content of the negotiation will be fully in his charge." Jia Liang Shao smiled and said, "Hello." Lin Yi pointed and said, "This person is not suitable. I suggest you change to someone more capable." Mr. Jia turned pale with anger upon hearing this and said, "Mr. Lin, what do you mean by that? Do you doubt his abilities?" Mr. Lin calmly replied, "You don't need to say this to him anymore. You don't have time to deal with him." He continued, "Wait a moment. Your lawyer will be here soon. You two can negotiate." Hearing that, Mr. Peng was startled and asked, "You found a lawyer at this time?" There was a knock at the door, and Peng Chengjie said, "Please come in." Then a person walked in and said, "Sorry, Mr. Lin, I'm late." After that, he casually took a seat next to Mr. Lin, and Ma Huaiyang sat down, adjusted his glasses, and began to work. Lin Yi said, "My person has arrived. You two discuss." Mr. Peng smiled wryly and said, "Their person is here. I leave the rest to you." However, he was anxious, sweating. He turned pale and stammered, This is my professor from university." Hearing that, Peng Chengjie also trembled and asked, "Your professor?" Jia Liang Shao anxiously said, "He was my graduate school professor." At this moment, Ma Huaiyang was smirking with a contemptuous expression. Mr. Peng, hearing this, panicked and thought, how could a farmer find such a formidable person to represent him in a lawsuit? At this point, Ma Huaiyang spoke up. "What a coincidence. I never expected these two teachers would question each other in court." He said, "Just in time, let me see the skill level of Jia Liang Shao. Today, consider it a test of your assignment." Hearing this, Jia Liang Shao panicked and was worried. His face turned pale and he was sweating profusely. He said, "Sir, given your status, why would you come to sue a farmer? This seems inappropriate, doesn't it?" Ma Huaiyang, confused, asked back, "Farmer?" Then he asked, "Didn't you two hear me call Mr. Lin just now?" He introduced, "The person sitting in front of you is Mr. Lin Yi. the CEO of Lingyun Group in this nation. He continued, "Moreover, I am currently the director of the legal department of Lingyun Group. Whether it is a matter of Mr. Lin or Lingyun Group, I have full authority over it." Peng Cheng-jie was startled upon hearing this. His face turned pale, unable to speak. Ling. Beside him, Jia Liangshao was not any better. He turned pale, astonished, saying, "Lingyun Group?" Then Ma Huaiyang pushed up his glasses and glanced, saying, "Before sending the lawsuit, Jia Liangshao, you didn't even look up the specific information of the other party. In the legal profession, this is forbidden." Lin Yi, losing patience, said, "Director Ma, let's get to the point." Mr. Ma nodded with a smile, agreeing, "All right." He said, "The lawyer on the other side, you are slandering us, saying we stole your technology. I now need 2 people to provide respective research reports and the entire concrete research process." Jia Liangshao's face turned pale as he said, Well, we have this." Then he presented a stack of documents before him. Ma Huaiyang took it and placed it on the table. He said, "In a moment, we will collect samples ourselves and provide a more complete soil analysis, comparing both reports. Additionally, there is only one soil inspection report. We suspect you are slandering us, and we will file a lawsuit afterward." Jia Liangshao lost his fighting spirit. He said, "We have a complete research plan and a list of all our research staff." Reading the contents of the document, Ma Huaiyang adjusted his glasses. He said, "All right, we will report to the police and then conduct a one-on-one interrogation with all the research staff of Shengnong Development. You will have to prove that what you are saying is false." Peng Cheng-jie stood up abruptly, saying, "No, that's not allowed." Ma Huaiyang replied, "Mr. Peng, there is nothing that cannot be done. This matter is important evidence for your side." Ma Huaiyang said, "If Jia Liangshao does not heed the advice, I have the right to doubt him, to suspect him of wrongdoing, and to fabricate false evidence. I will file a complaint with the relevant authorities." Both of them turned pale with fear upon hearing this. Lin Yi yawned and said, "You all continue talking. I have plenty of time." Peng Cheng-jie broke out in a sweat, stood up and said, "Mr. Lin, let's discuss this slowly." He continued, "This is a misunderstanding. I sincerely apologize to you. Can we settle this privately?" Lin Yi scoffed, resting his chin on his hand, his eyes filled with anger, and said, "Do you think this is child's play? Just saying sorry will fix everything. This is a place of business, not a city temple, and I am not a god. I still hope you all meet your end soon." Hearing this, Mr. Peng was utterly terrified, his eyes wide. After regaining his composure, he calmly said, "We are all business people. There may well be future cooperation, so there's no need to say such things." Lin Yi dug at his ear and said, "Prosecution is definitely on the table. You don't need to pretend to be pitiful. We are all adults here and must take responsibility for our actions. Furthermore, you are overestimating yourself. We are not on the same level. What cooperation could I possibly have with you?" Lin Yi finished speaking and could only remain silent, unable to counter anything. He stood up and said to Lawyer Ma, "Arrange for someone to take their lab personnel away. We are leaving." Ma Huaiyang, holding a stack of documents, said, "Mr. Peng, I have recorded the conversation between you and our Mr. Lin. It will become evidence later." He coldly replied to Mr. Peng, "See you in court." At this moment, Peng Cheng-jie had no strength left. He sat down on a chair, his face filled with fear. He then took out his phone and called, saying to the person on the other end, "Father, something happened." As he spoke, he covered his face and cried. After leaving the building, Lawyer Ma asked, "Mr. Lin, how do you want to handle this, privately or sue them?" Lin Yi replied, "It would be too boring to handle it privately, as if I was someone greedy for money. Handling it openly is enough." Lawyer Ma said seriously, "I understand, Mr. Lin. I will resolve this matter properly." After that, Lin Yi waved goodbye to Lawyer Ma and got into the car. He said, "Lawyer Ma, head back. I have to go to the airport for another matter. so I won't be returning to the company. At the airport, Ning Che and Chiu Yu Luo had just arrived. Tao Cheng shook hands with Lin Yi and said, "This time we're in Lin Yi's territory, so I'll leave the welcoming task to you." Lin Yi cheerfully replied to the two girls, "This is no problem at all. It's just that the three of you are dressed like this. It feels like we're going to a trip outside the city." Ning Che immediately wrapped her arm around Lin Yi's and happily said, "This is just a small task. The main purpose is to take the newbies out to see the world. The three of them are just background characters." Everyone quickly made their way to the parking area. Ning Che said to Lin Yi, "With your background, are you really driving this car? This can't be a joke, right?" Lin Yi replied, "With so many people, this is the only car that can fit us all. If I switch to a super racing car, I'd have to go around several times. By tomorrow, I might end up on the front page of the news." As she fastened her seatbelt, she asked him, "Do you like racing cars?" She continued, "What a coincidence. Our team leader Chu is also a car enthusiast. Is there a good place nearby? Let's go there and take a few laps." While driving, Lin Yi said, "Looking at everyone's expressions, it's like you're all eager to try it out." Tao Cheng, sitting in the front seat, said, "That's because this is also one of the special training programs of the organization. We can't just rely on our legs to catch people, can we?" Lin Yi happily suggested, "Let's go. We'll eat first, and then take everyone out to have some fun." At the Peninsula Hotel, Lin Yi sat at a round table, smiling and saying, "Feel free to order anything you want." Tao Cheng walked up to him and asked, "Lin Yi, do you come here often? I've heard that the food at the Peninsula Hotel isn't cheap." Lin Yi chuckled, leaning back in his chair, and said, "This is my restaurant. Just eat to your heart's content and choose the best dishes. Everyone here this time is for work. We'll settle the bill later. After all, it's all being paid for by the organization." Both Tao Cheng and Chiu Yu Luo were taken aback upon hearing Lin Yi's words. Ning Che laughed and asked, "Doesn't that count as embezzling?" Lin Yi replied, "No one is around now. Let's talk specifics about the mission." Tao Cheng opened the menu and said, "This is a support mission. Team 1 on Tilia Island is bringing back 2 kilograms of bass ore. Our task is to get this back here." Lin Yi calmly inquired, "What's the specific pickup location?" Then a map was presented. Tao Cheng took a pen, prepared to mark the map, and said, "It's in Gonghai. We need to take a boat over there." Ning Che laughed and said, "Doesn't Nation TH have a racetrack? Seems like it's the biggest in Nation H. Let's go play there." She smiled and said, "Let's go run a few laps." Chiu Yu Luo sat on the chair, arms crossed and laughing, with a hint of smugness on her face. "Where are we going to run? You're not my opponent, so just give up," Ning Che said irritably. "Don't be so sure about that. Although it's less frequent, I've beaten you a few times." She laughed, slammed the table, and stood up, saying, "Everyone, why don't we bet? Let's place a wager." Tao Cheng replied, "I'm on team leader Chu's side for this. Her driving skills are well known in the organization. Ordinary people can't compete with her." Chiu Yu Luo winked, picked up her glass of water, and said with a smile, "Did you hear that? Don't embarrass yourself any further." Ning Che strapped on her bag and said as she left, "How will you know if you don't try? Let's go right now." Lin Yi chuckled and looked at his phone, saying, "I'll call now to book the track. The International Nation TH Sub racetrack is also under my ownership." Tao Cheng asked, to the surprise of Chiu Yu Luo and the delight of Lin Yi, "Ah, it's also yours? Your business empire is quite expansive already." At the Nation TH racetrack, the venue looked very large and clean. The red car of Chiu Yu Luo and the gray car of Lin Yi were parked side by side, seemingly ready for a race to take place. Ning Che smiled happily and looked ahead, saying, "No wonder you dared to take action against the people from the headquarters. I really underestimated the power of your Nation TH." Lin Yi laughed, pointing at the red car. In front of Tao Cheng and Ning Che suddenly looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi smiled and said, "The car has been modified. all upgraded to the highest market standards. One costs about over 600 million. Lin Yi smiled at Tao Cheng and said, "Feel free to drive it. When the time comes, everyone can sign, and I'll have my superior handle the payment." Tao Cheng looked at him and laughed. "Ha ha." Tao Cheng appeared satisfied and happily said, "I guess Boss Liu won't mind you. He might even ask you to subsidize the funds." Chiu Yu Luo looked at Lin Yi and said, "If I win, then you have to obediently listen to me in the future. Don't act like you don't know your place in front of me." Lin Yi smiled and asked, "What if I win?" Chiu Yu Luo extended her hand and said, "You can make any request you want." Ningche approached and said with a laugh, "Then let's bet on your lingerie." Ningche pointed and said, "If you lose, you'll give your current undergarments to Lin Yi." Chiu Yu Luo was taken aback when she heard Ningche's words, and she asked, "What?" Ningche smiled and said, "Why are you frozen like a quail? Dare to agree or not?" Chiu Yu Luo replied, "What is there to be afraid of?" Chiu Yu Luo crossed her arms and spoke. "Although I have never participated in an official competition, I know my own abilities. Among amateurs, there aren't many who can outrun me." Lin Yi seemed happy and said, "Then it looks like this will be quite interesting." After that, two cars, one black and one red, stood next to each other on the racetrack. Chiu Yu Luo laughed, grabbed the steering wheel and said, "Let's go." Lin Yi smiled, took the steering wheel and asked, "I really enjoy punishing those who think a little too highly of themselves like you. Do you really think I bought this racetrack just for decoration?" Ningche raised her hand in front of the two cars and said, "Is everyone ready?" She raised her hand to count. 3. The cars started to smoke after hearing the countdown. 2. Then Ningche lowered her hand and shouted, 1, go! Tao Cheng looked surprised and said, "Team Leader Chiu, you lost right at the start. That's something new." After that, the two cars began to race. The gray car was in the lead. Chiu Yu Luo, feeling anxious, held the steering wheel and thought, "This is not good. The turn is coming up. I must overtake him." Then Lin Yi's gray car safely navigated the turn. Ningche looked surprised and asked, "Oh my god, Lin Yi didn't slow down at all. With that speed around the corner, isn't he afraid of flipping the car?" Tao Cheng suddenly said, "This is too powerful." Chiu Yu Luo looked at Lin Yi's car ahead and said, "Is he a professional racer?" Then Chiu Yu Luo also accelerated, but Lin Yi's car had already crossed the finish line first. When they reached the finish line, Lin Yi's car had stopped. Chiu Yu Luo was panting, leaning against the steering wheel and said, "His driving skills are too impressive." Lin Yi leaned against the front of the car. Chiu Yu Luo knocked on the car window and said, "Team leader Chiu has conceded. Now you have to keep your promise." Lin Yi smiled, extended his hand and said, "I hope when you hand them to me, they are still warm." Chiu Yu Luo got out of the car, angrily walked forward, turning back to shout loudly, "Get lost!" Lin Yi smiled and said, "If team leader Chiu is upset, then forget it. Everyone should go run a few laps." At the Bund Premium Club, many people were sitting there. Zhu Jifeng, president of the new energy car company, asked the receptionist sitting on the chair, "Mr. Peng, you called us over in a hurry. Is there something going on? Is there good news?" Shu Tianjun, president of Tianji Capital, said, "Did you not say yesterday that you discovered a new product? One that could even change the entire industry. I have prepared the money to invest." Peng Qingshou, the chairman of Sheng Nongcha under Peng Chengji, had an upset expression on his face. He raised his hand and spoke. "Stop talking. Something has happened." He continued, "A few days ago, my son accidentally discovered a type of fruit that contains elements far beyond those of other fruits. So he resorted to a bit of trickery to obtain the technology, and in the end, something went wrong." Lu Gaoyue, the chairman of Noon Electric, interjected with a question. "What do you mean by a bit of trickery? What exactly happened? Please tell us." Peng Qingshou said, "At first my son thought that the fruit seller could be easily bullied, so he sent him a lawyer's letter, hoping that he could reach a compromise. He held a cup of tea, thinking of Lin Yi, and said, "That person is not a farmer. He is the chairman of Ling Yun Group, Lin Yi." Zhu Zhifeng asked in surprise, "What? Lin Yi?" Xu Tianjun and Lu Gaoyue were equally shocked. Xu Tianjun looked at Peng Qingshou and asked, "Are you sure you're not joking? The chairman of Ling Yun Group is actually selling fruit? Isn't this just nonsense?" Peng Qingshou said, "I also feel that this matter is trivial, but that person is indeed Lin Yi." He picked up a cup of hot tea and continued, "He has already said that he does not intend to handle it privately. With the capacity of Ling Yun Group, if we continue to pursue this, our Shengnong development may not be able to withstand it." Lu Gaoyue poured some tea and said, "This matter is at most slander. No matter how capable Lin Yi is, he still has to operate according to business laws. He cannot do whatever he wants." Xu Tianjun said, "Mr. Lu, you're oversimplifying things. I heard that this Lin Yi fellow is a big shot. If he becomes ruthless, Mr. Peng might not be able to withstand it." Peng Qingshou asked, "Do you know more about him?" Xu Tianjun replied, "Recently, I received new information. It seems that Ling Yun Group is about to take new actions. Aside from the semiconductor industry, they have set their sights on new energy as well." Xu Tianjun continued, "If they infiltrate the automotive industry, your new energy sector will face a significant impact." Zhu Zhifeng suddenly jumped up and asked, "Infiltrate the new energy sector? They have just established a foothold in the internet and semiconductor industries, and now they want to enter another field?" Xu Tianjun lit a cigarette and said, "I just heard that they have invested in a new small energy plant called Jiashe. A round of investment of 1.4 billion. They must have some thoughts in this regard." Peng Qingshou replied, "Your new energy industry is about to face a new challenge." Xu Tianjun took a puff and said, "The influence of the semiconductor industry and the internet industry is very large. You could very well be restricted in this regard. Therefore, I feel that today is not just about Mr. Peng's issue. We must also behave seriously, otherwise each other's interests will be affected." Lu Gaoming interjected, "Mr. Xu, your connections are broader. We will help think of ways." Xu Tianjun stubbed out his cigarette and said, "Wait a moment. Let me call the former leader and inform him about the situation over here." Xu Tianjun stepped outside to take the call and said, "Leader, I have something I want to report to you." He opened the door and said loudly, "All right, don't worry anymore. He will be arranged by the higher-ups right away. We can focus on our development with peace of mind." Peng Qingshou suddenly asked, "Arranged by the higher-ups? What does that mean?" Xu Tianjun sat down, smiled, and said, "The specific situation about this former leader of mine hasn't been mentioned, only that someone higher up wants to move on him. In short, his days ahead will not be easy." He said, "So, your family's situation probably won't be too much trouble." Peng Qingshou smiled, clenched his fists, and said, "This is truly finding a way to live from a death situation. We are struggling to find a way out, and unexpectedly, the superiors have taken notice of him. Fortune and misfortune are unpredictable. This may also be our opportunity. Think it over carefully. Perhaps we can strike it rich." At Wangjiang Pier, Tao Cheng said, "Mr. Lin, the boat is ready." Then Lin Yi led several people and said, "We can drive ourselves. You take the others back. No need to arrange for more people here." One person stepped onto the stairs. Ning Che asked, "Lin Yi, is this boat also yours?" Lin Yi smiled and replied, "Not only is this boat mine, but the pier behind you and the adjacent Moon Bay Beach over there are also mine." Chu Yu Luo, Ning Che, and Tao Cheng were all surprised. Tao Cheng thought, "How rich can a person like him be?" Ning Che said, "If I had known this pier was yours, I wouldn't have come to the high boat tonight. To be honest, I've never danced on a boat before." A girl with short hair said to Ning's organization, "There's wine and champagne on the boat." Lin Yi smiled, looked at Chu Yu Luo, and said, "There are also dozens of swimsuits inside. It seems there's enough to use." Ning Che smiled, preparing to take off her jacket, and said, What are we waiting for? The swimming party starts right now. Qiu Yuluo reminded, can you two pay attention? We have a mission to carry out, not come to the beach to dance. Ningche tugged at Qiu Yuluo's shirt, playfully asking, what kind of act are you putting on? Are you going to take it off yourself, or should I do it for you? Ningche continued to say with a smile, besides, don't forget that your underwear right now belongs to Lin Yi. Hurry up and take it off for him. Qiu Yuluo shyly turned away, saying, you huff? Then both Ningche and Qiu Yuluo changed out of their short dresses, looking very attractive. Lin Yi also wasn't wearing a shirt, revealing his firm abs. Ningche looked at his abs and said, how did you train your abs? They look amazing. A short-haired girl added, not only that, there is this vest and shark line, simply unbeatable. Qiu Yuluo had a displeased expression, thinking to herself, this body is really too good. There were two girls, one with long pink hair and the other with short blue hair, having a great time together. Lin Yi suddenly noticed the time on the watch he was wearing. He said to Tao Cheng, who was driving the boat, in 1 hour, we'll be at international waters. Tao Cheng replied, got it. Then he pulled something down, and the air around them suddenly became quiet. Lin Yi looked at Qiu Yuluo, who was using a binocular, and asked, how is it? Has the target appeared yet? Qiu Yuluo put down the binoculars and said, almost there. I will slowly drive the boat over. Ningche, you stay on the boat for support. After that, someone jumped into the water. Lin Yi laughed and said, cheer up, the target is about to appear. They began to sit down in the small boat. There were voices on the boat saying, ready, we can act at any time. Qiu Yuluo held a black object in her hand and said, I will signal them. 10 minutes later, Tao Cheng asked, what is the situation? Is our position not good, so they can't see us? Qiu Yuluo replied, it's impossible. Our people cannot make such a small mistake. Tao Cheng took the walkie-talkie and asked, Ningche, get in touch with Team 1. Ask where they are. We have prepared support, but they have not given any news. The walkie-talkie responded, received. Then, a voice came from the walkie-talkie. Team 1 has encountered a bit of a problem. They are telling us to board the boat for support. Tao Cheng said, support, the server is a cargo ship, and there are ordinary people on board, so there shouldn't be any major problems. Qiu Yuluo said, change the action plan. You and Lin Yi get on the boat and see what's happening up there. I'll stay below to support the two of you. Tao Cheng nodded in agreement. You're right. Let's go on the boat to check the situation. First, let's get our gear on. Lin Yi turned to Tao Cheng and said, okay. At this moment, Lin Yi was wearing a diving suit. He pressed something black in his hand, and there was a sucking sound. Then both Lin Yi and Tao Cheng climbed onto something. Lin Yi asked, has this happened before? Tao Cheng frowned and replied, the probability is low. It has only happened once. We need to be careful, as a conflict might arise. Lin Yi's face suddenly turned pale as he thought, is it possible we will encounter that man in black today? Lin Yi said, let's hurry up. I feel that something is not right. Tao Cheng asked, what's not right? Lin Yi, looking puzzled, said, I don't know how to explain it. Then someone stepped onto the boat. Lin Yi reiterated, in short, let's hurry up. I'm afraid something will happen. Tao Cheng touched his earpiece and reported, we are on the boat now. Report the target's location. Tao Cheng looked at Lin Yi and said, Area F, the third row from the top, split up to act but don't get separated. Lin Yi nodded and said, okay. Two people, Lin Yi and Tao Cheng, were hiding behind some barrels. Lin Yi suddenly thought, why is there the smell of blood? Suddenly, the two stopped. Tao Cheng asked, what's wrong? Lin Yi replied, I found them. Tao Cheng was surprised. Really? So soon? He opened his mouth wide and saw two people, a boy in a black shirt and a girl in a blue dress, both hanging. Tao Cheng, looking worried, said, damn it, What the hell is... Lin Yi quickly covered his mouth. Tao Cheng reminded him, keep it down. Don't think about anything for now. Focusing on the main task is more important. Lin Yi said, I'll go and lower them down. You go signal for the people below to bring the boat to our location. Tao Cheng's eyes filled with tears. He closed his eyes and could only nod. He then turned and ran off to somewhere after hearing Lin Yi's words. Tao Cheng handed Lin Yi some ropes coiled into circles and said, tie them to us. Then get on the boat. Move quickly. Lin Yi took the rope and said, got it. The two of them lifted the two bodies onto their shoulders. Lin Yi carried the girl's body, while Tao Cheng carried the man's. They stepped down, and Lin Yi gently placed the girl's body down. Qiu Yu Luo suddenly said, Why is it like this? Lin Yi placed his hand on her shoulder and said, this is not the place to talk. Let's quickly steer the boat back to gather with Ning Che. Qiu Yu Luo agreed. All right. After that, the three of them boarded the small boat to return to their luxurious larger vessel. Suddenly, a pair of feet stepped onto the boat, and people began to board. Qiu Yu Luo said, carry the person up here. Ning Che said, Lin Yi, you used to be a doctor, specializing in autopsy. Can you check it out a bit? Lin Yi put on black gloves, looked at Ning Che, and said, okay. Then, he began to open a black bag that was wrapped around a corpse to examine it. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. No one spoke a word. It seemed they could all feel how heavy the air was. The black bag wrapped around the corpse was slowly opened by Lin Yi, and he didn't know what more to say. Lin Yi asked, do you really want to hear it? Qiu Yu Luo and Ning Che still stood there. Qiu Yu Luo said, go ahead, we've prepared ourselves. Lin Yi picked up a bruised hand, looking at them slowly said, both of these people must have suffered inhumane cruelty when they were alive. Their fingernails were pulled out, their bodies were covered in bruises, and there were 2 wounds on the scapula, as if they were nailed through while alive. This woman was even raped. Lin Yi looked at the dead person's legs and said, aside from that, their leg bones have also been broken. But the real cause of death was because the artery was severed. The time of death was about an hour ago. Qiu Yu Luo couldn't dare to look, closing one eye, and Ning Che also couldn't bear to look, covering his eyes with his hand. Everyone was still looking around. Lin Yi took out his phone and said, I have notified the people from Nation TH to come to assist. Let's see how to handle the next steps. Ning Che said, everyone share your opinions. There are too many suspicious points in this matter. Lin Yi continued, the person who contacted the two before is probably not them. They are likely the perpetrators, pretending to borrow the names of those two. They signaled us to lure us onto the boat, while simultaneously trying to find them. Tao Cheng said, but who is the perpetrator? What is their motive? Such methods are too ruthless. Lin Yi said, I have a bold conjecture. The perpetrator might be from the Black Gold Corporation. In the last mission, besides Jimmy and his subordinates, I also killed several people from the Black Gold Corporation. Plus, the base solution gene has been taken by us. So, Ning Che crossed his arms and asked, if they want to take revenge on us for this, why not lure us onto the boat and capture us all? Lin Yi said, although the place we are acting in is international waters, the distance is very close to the waters of Nation H. The people of Black Gold Corporation did not survive and therefore took such measures to take revenge. Qiu Yu Luo said, I believe Lin Yi has a very good point. Qiu Yu Luo clenched her fists and said, everyone, let's boost our spirits. There are still many things behind that we need to do. On the water, 2 people, Xiang Wang and a man in a hat, were moving. The man in the hat pointed and said, they are back. Xiang Wang stepped forward, shook hands with Lin Yi, and said, you all have worked hard. Let's go to the branch base first. Mr. Liu and the others are waiting for you. At the branch base, Liu Hong said, this time you have all worked hard. Tell me the specific situation. One person said, it's like this, but we have no evidence in hand. There is no way to reach a conclusion. Then one person slammed their hand on the table and said, Our people cannot die in vain. Liu Hong said, "This vengeance must be avenged. You have killed our people and robbed our goods. This matter cannot be easily overlooked." The brown-haired person said, "Everyone calm down a bit. We need to wait for the autopsy report before we continue discussing." Liu Hong asked, "But I don't understand. The infiltrators have cleaned everything up. Who ultimately revealed their whereabouts? Could it be that Team 1 has a traitor?" Lin Yi replied, "It's possible, but Team 1 is executing a mission externally. Investigating this is very difficult. However, I believe that once Team 1 obtained the base ore, they have been targeted." Qiu Luo angrily asked, "What do you mean? After obtaining the base ore, the people from Black Gold Corporation started following us?" Lin Yi said, "Because since Jimmy's incident until now, it has been a while, Black Gold must have guessed that something happened." He continued, "The two of them, while still alive, must have suffered inhumane treatment, likely for intelligence gathering from the organization." At that moment, a hand struck the table. Liu Hong stood up and said, "All right, you should go home and rest now. Tomorrow we will hold a farewell ceremony, then proceed with the burial. Let's deal with the immediate matters first." Everyone stood up in unison and replied, "Yes." At the funeral home, many people had gathered. One person asked, "Are you Lin Yi, the one who broke my record during training?" Lin Yi looked at Xiang Wang and asked, "Is there something wrong?" Xiang Wang smiled and said, "It's really not bad. I thought it would take 8 or 10 years for someone to break my record. I didn't expect that just 3 years later, someone has managed to do it. Make sure to work hard from now on. I have a high opinion of you." Both Ning Che and Qiu Luo were surprised. Qiu Luo thought, "That's quite arrogant." Lin Yi looked at Xiang Wang and said, "Not everyone is as lacking as you think. Those who can be called in for training and assessment are all competent." Lin Yi continued, "After all, you are a member of Team 1. There's no need for you to slap yourself in the face." Xiang Wang was taken aback and widened his eyes, momentarily speechless. Qin Yanling, a member of the organization, spoke up, laughing heartily, though her expression was a bit displeased. "Ha ha! No wonder you had the guts to take on a match against so many of the younger generations in the district. You are quite confident in yourself." Lin Yi looked at Qin Yanling and asked, "What does it have to do with you? Why are you meddling in other people's business?" Qin Yanling angrily pointed her finger at Lin Yi's face and said, "If you're bold enough, say it again." Qiu Luo interjected, "All right, this isn't the place for you two to argue." Qin Yanling retorted, "Weren't the two of you at odds before? Why are you suddenly defending him now?" Qiu Luo angrily said, "Who said there is a conflict between us? Right now we are comrades. You better behave." Ning Che thought, "It's no wonder the Qin family is in decline." Xiang Wang blocked Qin Yanling and smiled, "All right, I hope there will be a chance in the future to carry out a mission with you on Tilia Island rather than wasting time here." Lin Yi asked, "Your comrades were harmed, and instead of thinking about what went wrong, you choose to act tough with me. Is that interesting?" Lin Yi continued, "Or do you already know they would die, so you don't feel any sadness at all?" Xiang Wang looked surprised and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Are you implying that I am a spy?" Lin Yi asked, "It's just a suspicion. Why are you so worked up?" Someone spoke up loudly, "All right, everyone, quiet down." Liu Hong asked Xiang Wang if there was anything to discuss regarding this operation. Xiang Wang replied, "I think it's very possible that we were already compromised from the beginning." Xiang Wang looked worried and said, "In the coming period, we will conduct our own investigation into this matter, trying to find out where the problem occurred and then bring the perpetrator to justice." Liu Hong said, "As for the issue of Tilia Island, let's put it aside for now and focus all efforts on this matter. If you cannot find the culprit and any leads, then you won't need to be the team leader anymore." Tao Cheng, his face dripping with sweat, bowed his head and said, "I understand. I will seriously investigate this matter." After that, a foot stepped forward. Liu Hong said, "Now, I declare a state of emergency combat readiness. Be prepared to act at any moment. Everyone replied, understood. At a certain company, Lin Yi asked, what is a state of emergency combat readiness? Ning Che answered, it's to seize training, whenever there is a fierce battle to be fought. Ning Che sighed and said, but this matter is probably handled by the first team. It shouldn't concern us. Someone's phone rang with a call from someone named Qi Xian Zhao. Lin Yi answered the phone and said, hello? Qi Xian Zhao responded, Mr. Lin, something has happened. Our company in Nation M has been exposed. It has been sealed by the relevant authorities. I heard that Mr. Tian's movements have been restricted. Lin Yi asked, Tianyan's movements are restricted? Qi Xian Zhao said, that's right. The commerce authorities have sealed our company, suspecting that we are involved in commercial fraud. I haven't been able to contact her. Lin Yi reassured, don't worry, I will head over there quickly. Ning Che asked, what's wrong with you? Why did your expression suddenly change? Lin Yi said, it's okay. Can you quickly take me to the airport? I'm in a hurry. Ning Che was surprised and exclaimed, sure, sure. After that, the two stood in front of a white car. Lin Yi answered a phone call and asked, Aunt Shen? Aunt Shen on the phone said, Lin Yi, I heard about the situation in Country M, right? Aunt Shen wants you to come to my company immediately. We need to discuss this in detail. Lin Yi replied on the phone, okay. Lin Yi told Ning Che, Captain Ning, I'm not going to the airport anymore. Let me borrow your car to drive instead. Ning Che stood in shock and asked, huh? Ning Che tossed the car keys to Lin Yi and said, all right, you can take it and drive away. Lin Yi caught the car keys, saying, thank you. Then he got in and closed the car door. Lin Yi started driving away, speeding as fast as he could. The car arrived and stopped at the Harem Group building. He knocked on the door of a room. There was a voice from inside. Come in. Lin Yi walked in. Aunt Shen extended her hand and said, come sit down. Lin Yi sat in the chair and asked, how did you know about this? Did you say that my people would be in danger abroad? Aunt Shen said, don't panic yet. She is just temporarily being controlled, undergoing investigation. There is no danger to her life. Aunt Shen stood up and said, Aunt guesses that the Nation M will initiate prosecution. If you don't handle it quickly, the matter will become very difficult to resolve. Lin Yi replied, I know. I will take the earliest flight there to handle it. I will also find out who is behind this. Aunt Shen put down her teacup and asked, who do you think is behind the accusations against you? Lin Yi lifted the cup of tea to his mouth and said, I suspect that they have discovered the photolithography machine project. At this moment, someone was knocking on the door, causing both of them to glance towards it. Aunt Shen looked out the door and said, come in. Guo Chunxiang, vice president of Harem Group, entered holding a laptop and said, Mrs. Shen. Aunt Shen replied, is it about the Ba Shi Sao project? I have something else to attend to. I will find you later. Guo Chunxiang said, it's not about that project. He continued, it is the company invested in by Lingyun Group that has been revealed to have an unstable capital chain. Its research and development capability is insufficient. Longshin technology and blah blah have also been affected to varying degrees. In the blink of an eye, over 5 billion has been lost. Lin Yi smiled and asked, does this have anything to do with me? Aunt Shen said, he is the CEO of Lingyun Group. Lin Yi, Guo Chunxiang laughed and said, hello, Mr. Lin. I've heard of you for a long time. Lin Yi smiled, shook hands with Guo Chunxiang, and asked, why does what you reported earlier involve the Lingyun Group? Guo Chunxiang showed Lin Yi the computer and said, here's the thing. After the semiconductor conference, Mrs. Shen prepared an evaluation report with the company you invested in. Then Lin Yi smiled brightly and said, now we can be sure. There must be someone behind the scenes pulling strings. You jokingly said something like that. It seems they want to make things difficult for us. Aunt Shen placed her hand on his shoulder and said, just stay calm. The public opinion domestically, I can help suppress it. It doesn't matter much. We need to figure out how to handle the situation with Nation M. Lin Yi smiled and said, Okay, thank you, Aunt Shen. Aunt Shen asked, Where are you going? Lin Yi replied, I'm going on a trip to Nation M. Tian Yan is my person, and if something happened, I have to bring her back. Aunt Shen rushed to Lin Yi, saying, What are you joking about? Aunt Shen said, You are the boss behind it. When the time comes, just one word from them could arrest you. The impact of this on the Lingyun Group and the lithography project is immeasurable. Then Lin Yi held Aunt Shen's hand, smiled at her, and with a slightly blank expression said, Aunt Shen, don't worry, I have my plans. I know what they are like, nothing will happen. Aunt Shen exhaled and said, All right, Aunt will arrange for someone to go over there with you. Don't push yourself too hard. Aunt Shen continued, Let me introduce you. This is Director Wang Hanshan, who is in charge of business management, and this is Director Zhao. Both Wang Hanshan and Zhao Xia were present. Lin Yi shook hands with Wang Hanshan and said, I rely on both of you this time. Wang Hanshan smiled and said, No need to be so polite. We are familiar with the business situation in Country M. Mr. Lin can rest assured. After that, Lin Yi, along with Wang Hanshan and Zhao Xia, said, Then let's set off right now and quickly take care of this matter. At the airport in Country M, Wang Hanshan pulled Lin Yi aside and said, Mr. Lin, this trip is a bit special. You'd best use your own resources to handle this matter, as it is more serious than we imagined. Lin Yi smiled and said, I know. Throughout the trip, I will follow the arrangements of Director Zhao and Director Wang. Wang Hanshan remarked, I didn't expect the boss of Lingyun Group to be so humble. In the business hall of Country M, in the conference room, Jotham smiled and said, Mr. Wang, Ms. Zhao, Mr. Lin, it's a pleasure to have you all in Country M. I also hope this matter can be resolved peacefully. Wang Hanshan smiled and said, We also brought this thought here. He pushed up his glasses and smiled. I hope this trivial matter does not affect our friendship. Jotham said, Then the official meeting can begin. The company controlled by Ms. Tian Yan has made large-scale purchases of semiconductor electronic components, blatantly violating our related regulations. Jotham smiled and said, It is reasonable and legal for us to control her. Lin Yi said, But as far as I know, the company controlled by Ms. Tian Yan is run by CEO Andy of Ying, the founding island leader, and has no connection to Ms. Tian at all. Jotham smiled and said, No, no, no. He laughed and continued, Andy is merely enchanted by her, so all these matters are her doing. We have gathered enough evidence. You must trust us. Then the two people, Wang Hanshan and Zhao Xia, looked at each other. Wang Hanshan asked, So how do we need to concede? What must we do for you not to pursue this matter anymore? Jotham smiled and said, Mr. Wang, there are a total of 2 choices for you to consider. He continued to smile and said, First, we retract all electronic components. Furthermore, we require the other party to compensate 30 billion. Mr. Lin scoffed. Wang Hanshan said, This plan is too unreasonable. We have no way to accept it. Please tell us the second option. Jotham smiled and said, The second option is that we want the Lingyun Group to quickly go public and then give us 51% of the share ownership. He continued, These are the 2 options we have negotiated. Everyone can consider them and then make a decision. Lin Yi said, Both of these requests are excessive. We cannot meet them. Jotham replied, Then there's nothing more we can do. This is the limit for you. If this negotiation cannot continue, then let's stop here. I will arrange a lunch and may invite the 3 of you to enjoy it. Wang Hanshan, angry, slammed the table. This is really pushing people too far. Lin Yi said, The matter isn't settled yet. Don't rush to eat. Jotham asked, We have provided a solution, Mr. Lin. Have you made your choice yet? He smiled and said, How can I choose such an unfavorable agreement? You don't understand me at all. Lin Yi smiled. arms crossed, looking at the surprised Jotham, and said, "In my hands, I hold 12% of AI's shares and 12% of Ying's shares." Jotham exclaimed, "Impossible! How can you have shares in both I and Ying?" Lin Yi comfortably leaned back in the chair and smiled lightly, saying, "If you don't believe me, you can check it out yourself." He looked at Jotham's frowning face and asked, "How much do you think I can do by exploiting this stock power?" The girl with brown hair in a purple dress holding a whiteboard came over. Jotham, who was feeling uncomfortable, said, "Boss, the situation is indeed as he said." Lin Yi placed his hands on the table and said, "That's right. There's one more thing I forgot to mention to you." He smiled and said, "On a global scale, I have independently developed the most advanced second-generation source code. If you give me another 6 months, the source code for the third-generation chip will also emerge. So, you guys can't compete with me." Jotham said, "Dreaming is fine, but don't dream in broad daylight. I need to investigate the matters you mentioned. We'll just stop here for today. Tomorrow, we'll continue." Lin Yi said, "What I have to play with you is time, but before that, I need to meet my people." Jotham said, "Okay, later, we will bring her to the designated negotiation location. We'll stop here for today." Lin Yi smiled, stood up, and said, "All right, I hope the next negotiation will proceed quickly. Don't keep me waiting too long." After that, the three of them left. Wang Hanshan said, "Mr. Lin, you are truly outstanding. In recent years, the younger generation has made me view things differently. There are not many like you. You are the first." Lin Yi smiled and replied, "There is no other way. Some things are constrained by others. If you say you will definitely catch up step by step, it will take an enormous amount of time. There are risks when taking turns, so I bought some insurance ahead of time." Jotham gestured towards a car and said, "Miss Tian is here." Ding Xin opened the car door, called out to Lin Yi, ran over and hugged his neck, tears streaming down her face as she said, "I knew you would come." Lin Yi rubbed Ding Xin's head and said, "Were you scared? You've worked hard." Ding Xin wiped her tears and said, "At first, I was indeed quite scared, but I believed that you would come to take me home. From that moment on, I was no longer afraid." Lin Yi smiled and said, "Thinking that way is right. As long as you are one of my people, no one can touch you." Wang Hanshan shook hands with Ding Xin and said, "Mr. Tian, you have worked hard. This is not the place for a conversation. Let's head to the meeting room. We also want to know all the details of this matter." Ding Xin smiled and said, "Okay." Then, at the wooden door, Wang Hanshan sat on a chair and said, "You go ahead and talk about your side first." Wang Hanshan looked at Ding Xin and said, "This matter has come too suddenly. I suspect that you have been reported." He pushed up his glasses and asked, "So, during the global procurement process, you didn't touch upon the interests of others, right?" Ding Xin replied, "I really did not. All of our actions are reasonable, legal, completely based on the enforcement process of this side, and do not touch upon the interests of others at all." She continued, "But I suspect that someone from within the country reported the two of you." Wang Hanshan and Zhao Xia asked in unison, "Someone from within the country?" Ding Xin said, Because Ling Yun Group has developed too quickly, many people are envious of our boss. Therefore, they reported us." After that, Wang Hanshan slammed his hand on the table and angrily said, "This is really outrageous." Tian Yan, with a slightly panicked face, advised, "Director Wang, calm down. This is not the time to be angry." Lin Yi, standing beside her, said nothing, only looking in her direction. At this moment, Mrs. Zhang's voice suddenly rang out. "Director Wang, Xiao Tian is right. The current matter is to properly handle the situation here. As for the informant, we will investigate slowly after returning. We must give Ling Yun Group an explanation." As soon as she finished speaking, all three of them turned to look at her. Mr. Wang was somewhat surprised. He sat down in the chair and then spoke up. "But the next negotiation shouldn't be a big issue. The person has returned and the initiative is in our hands." After hearing this, Mrs. Zhang smiled and replied, No matter what, we must resolve the matter satisfactorily. This is the silver lining in the misfortune. It seemed that Mr. Wang was a bit hungry at this point, so he suggested to Lin Yi, "Let's go eat first. Mr. Tian has also returned. It's just right to go and ease her worries. Mr. Lesiu, Mr. Lin and I need to drink properly as a way to celebrate that everyone has left now." Lin Yi stayed back to instruct Tian Yan. "You have to go out to take care of some matters. Come back later, and you stay with Director Wang. They shouldn't wander around. It's not safe for you to go out either." She adjusted his collar, and then Tian Yan placed a hand on Lin Yi's chest. Her face turned red as she said, "Don't worry, I will be careful. You go take care of your work." He replied, "Okay." At this moment, Lin Yi was slowly walking down the street. There were many people passing by. One hand was pulling a suitcase, while the other was in his pants pocket, with a smirk on his face. When Lin Yi arrived at a house, he rang the bell. A man with blonde hair and beard opened the door. He was surprised to see Lin Yi and spoke, "Why are you here? I did not invite you to my house." Lin Yi smiled and replied, "I want to discuss something private with you. I have prepared a big gift for you. I think you will definitely like it." The man turned and said to Lin Yi, "Come in." As Lin Yi entered the house and sat down on a chair, the man went to make tea for the guest. While walking, he said, "My wife and I divorced a year ago. Now I am living alone. If you have something to say, just say it directly. Don't worry about others overhearing." He brought the tea over. Lin Yi smiled and said, "Don't rush. Before we get to the main topic, let me show you something." The man was a bit surprised by Lin Yi's words, but said nothing. Lin Yi took the suitcase down from the ground, opened it, and inside was filled with cash. The man was taken aback and asked, "Mr. Lin, what do you want to do?" Lin Yi replied, "I think your side has already come to a resolution, right?" He shrugged, appearing confused, and said, "I'm very sorry. We have not negotiated a result yet. You will need to wait a bit longer." Upon hearing this, Lin Yi calmly took a sip of tea and said, "If that's the case, then there is no need to continue our conversation today." He put the teacup down on the table, stood up, walked to the front door, waved his hand and said, "Thank you for your hospitality." The man was speechless at his actions. He immediately spoke up to hold on. "Mr. Lin, what do you actually want? I think we can discuss this." After hearing his words, Mr. Lin glanced over and smiled triumphantly. He turned back and replied, "What I want to ask is this. I need a specific answer." He replied, "We can no longer pursue this matter, but you must agree to one thing. Do not use the shares of AI and Ying in your hands to do anything that affects the development of Nation M." Lin Yi laughed at his condition. "Haha, Nation M, you guys are too funny." The man was surprised. Lin Yi continued, "You secretly hinder others, but do not allow others to hinder yourselves. Is that double standards?" Then the man sighed and said, "This is not something I can just say, so I am also at a loss." After hearing this, Lin Yi continued, "I came today to discuss one thing with you. If you agree to cooperate with me, then this amount of money will be yours and no one will know." He was a bit flustered and asked, "What do you want to do?" Lin Yi responded, "File charges against me and Tian Yan." The man was startled, pale-faced, and said, "What?" In the quiet night, the starry sky shone above. In the hotel room, Lin Yi had just opened the door when Tian Yan hurriedly approached and said, "Mr. Lin, you're finally back. The situation in the country isn't looking good. The stocks of Longxin and blah blah are still continuing to decline." He looked at Tian Yan with surprise as she approached. After hearing her, Lin Yi calmly took off his coat and asked, "What exactly is the situation?" She replied, "The stocks of our invested companies are all plummeting. The damage has exceeded 10 billion already." She took Lin Yi's coat and continued, "Even the financial market has become chaotic. Right now, Mr. Chi called me, saying I have to immediately inform you to strategize our next steps." As he unbuttoned his coat while walking, she said, "It's okay. Losses are just losses.